We got a package from Germany. What it means that the Volvosaurus, that's how my kids call the Volvo 240 wagon, the Volvosaurus will get some love. So let's see what I have in the box. Nice. And it only took, I believe it was like 3 weeks to get from Germany to Argentina in this COVID situation and with the mess that is my country in terms of getting something from abroad. So kudos to Scandix for the great service they provide, and of course this is completely unsponsored. Okay, let's see what I have. Nice. You know what this is? This is basically a camshaft tool for changing the timing belt. I know there are some alternatives, but I wanted to do it this way. Radiator hose, yes. Another radiator hose. A couple of gaskets. I believe these ones are for the rear differential. Some clamps for the radiator hoses. Some bulbs for the instrumental. I got some drain plug O-rings, more bulbs for the instruments. This one was something I've been wanting to do since some time ago. This is basically a magnetic oil drain plug. This is the speedometer. It's supposed to be the speedometer gear because I have no speed indicator. It's the first time I see it in black, so I don't know if it's the right part or if I made a mistake buying or Scandix sending. This beauty here is the rear differential filling hole plug and a battery connecting and disconnecting device. I like this one because since the Volvosaurus is the third car I have, it's the one that I use the less. I accidentally broke this when I changed the spark plug wires, so I bought them. Fantastic. This is the fifth door, the rear nozzle for, yes, the rear water nozzle. That basically it was brutal and I accidentally broke it. So congrats Scandix, you did a great job. You sent absolutely everything in no time. So now let's jump to the car itself. Okie dokie, let's start with this that I broke accidentally when I replaced the spark plug wires. So what I want to do here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys. Okay, so let's see. First, let's try to put this first. Maybe like this. So you just need to remember there's no quick victory here. There you go. Took me some time. Here we go. I better say here we are, not here we go. So There you go. So I now have these 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Took me some time, but here we are. And I guess this is just in case you have another model. Oh, and this is already getting out of here. What this tells me is that this won't hold. Anyway, and this is my beautiful Volvo 240. It's in a very good shape. Of course, it has some white stains in the paint, basically for the pass of the year, the sun, etc. But the interior is, well, it's in a very good condition. This is the only crack that the dashboard has. And even the rear is beautifully conserved. Let's work on it. Okay, so I'm placing the container below the fill plug. I just did this work literally a couple of weeks ago, so I know the level is okay, maybe a bit overflow, but what I have done is I bought a new filling plug for the rear differential, because I believe the one that is there is not the original one. I have a little helper, my son. Now, let me compare these two. So you see, I'm pretty sure this one is not the original, but I don't know if this one is going to. It's very different, very different. But I know the one I bought is the right one. I give it a try. And yes, it is the right one. But I have the same situation. I have too much thread still there. I'm going to leave the one that it was there before, because I'm going to leave the one that it's there, because I don't like how it's going. I prefer the smaller one, since this is not a high pressure thing. So since the last time I did this, I was like 300 millimeters short. I'm going to add some extra oil. Very important is you don't want to put too much in it, because otherwise you might end up over the there you are. Okay, that's it. I just put a couple of millimeters of oil, a couple of centiliters, and now I'm going to put the plug back. You will hear my kids there who are assisting me with the camera. They want me to speak in Spanish, of course. That would be better for everyone. But at the end of the day, I like for the Volvo to record my videos in English, just because there are not much people in Latin America with these cars, so I believe it's better if I do it in English. I believe I can help more people in that way. Okay, so now it's correctly overfilled. Not correctly overfilled, it's correctly to the right level. And I bought this, but it was not the one that I should have bought. Alright, I just put 200 millimeters of 75/90, and that was what I was missing on. So now I'm just going to clean and put the car down and continue with the rest of the service. Something very important is that no matter if you use it only 200 millimeters from it, now it's time to correctly dispose it, okay? Unless you are going to use it very soon, the open guns might lose their properties. And okay, now I'm just going to clean all this mess up so that if I have leaks I can identify if they are for the drain plug or for the filler plug. I hope you can see there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect, unplug the airflow, the mass airflow sensor. And long story short, I'm going to take this, the box, I'm going to take everything out, put a new air filter, and I'm going to clean the mass airflow sensor. Please always use a specific cleaner, okay? You use something like this, no matter the brand, and you just soak it and use the pressure, the gas pressure to clean it, and you don't put it back until it is really dry. Moving to this new angle, just to mention that apart from the different clamps, you need to take this, I believe it's a 10 millimeter bolt from that bracket, and you can see it from the other angle. Long story short, remember that battery switch I bought? I can't use it here in the Volvo, I will use it in a different car, because this battery model has like this step here, so I can't put it enough towards this angle in parallel to the radiator to put the battery switch, so I have to use that in a different car. Okay, so this is a bit too much, but I'm going to use the power. That's it. I broke it loose. Now I'll continue with the other tools and taking everything out. All right. It's loose. This other one is loose as well, and this is the most difficult one, but now it's loose. This one is disconnected, and now it's just a matter of disconnecting here, disconnecting there. I'm going to check the filter box. And by the way, if you do it this way, taking the mass airflow sensor, it's going to be way easier to do this. No, este es el nuevo. This is the new one I'm explaining to my boy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it there. The filter box is really clean, so I'm not doing anything with it. And now I'm just going to play a little bit with this. I will first put it here. There you go. I believe that's much easier. You need to remember, even the easiest thing in the world, when you work with your car, there's always a moment of doubt and nervousness. It's like this. That's part of the fun of working your own vehicles. Not that sure. Ah, there you go. Finally. having a screwdriver that close to the battery positive and negative terminals. Ah, there you go. Now it's perfect. Just checking here it's mounted in the good way. Yeah. Okay, as I said before, very important, you use a specific cleaner for mass airflow sensors. Okay, so you're going to put it here and you're going to give it a lot of pressure. And I'm going to do it the other way around as well. That pressure is the one that is going to clean all the terminals and those very thin wires that you see there. I'm going to do it one more time from each side and then I'm going to leave it drying. Very important is that you leave it dry, you let it dry, and it's very important as well, this is very sensitive, or not very, but pretty sensitive. So some people takes the preheater hose out of the car because if the valves stay open and you have continuously hot air going through this, you might end up ruining it. Another source of failure for this is that maybe if you have like the PCV valve clog, you might have some oil in the air intake hoses, and that might end up ruining this as well. It's not that close, but for some drastic cases might be a source of problems for the mass airflow sensor. Connection is secure. So now all the clamps are tightened. All I need to do is to tighten this. You will see that the fluid is almost new, but that's because I do it every time, as I mentioned before. This is not necessary, okay? If you do it every 3 or 4 years, will be okay. But since it's an old car, I don't know. I believe that whatever you can prevent breaking, you should do it. Alright, it's empty, so I will now replace it with new fluid. And by the way, it takes the cheap Dextron 2, Dextron 3. I'll try not to make a mess. Yeah, good for Nacho. And minimum, maximum, I overfill it a little, but there's no problem because I'm going to keep doing this 2 or 3 times. Turning the car on. So you will turn the car on and move the transmission to the top left, to the top right, to the top right again. Do this 3-4 times and repeat the process. Alright, so we have turned the car on and move the power steering to the top left and to the top right, and now you see the fluid is brownish again. It's not pink or red as it was brand new. So we will repeat this process 2 or 3 times. Okay, let's keep showing love to the Volvosaurus. I have used these ramps for saving some work, and now time to go below the car. Okay, I believe this is 14 millimeters. This is the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to do a drain and refill on the transmission. Okie dokie. So now let's try not to miss this. Very important, as you see, the gasket is not here, so it's important to verify that in order to avoid double gasketing. And something important as well is not to lose any drop of oil, because at the end of the day you want to measure how much you took in order to refill the same quantity as a starting point before really checking the transmission level. So you take all the fluid out, you measure how much you took, and then you put that very same amount as a starting point. The new gasket, okay, you see there? And as usual, first tight by hand in order to avoid cross threading the bolt. Okay, just tight it by hand. Then you can clean a little bit. And of course, once you do that, just tighten this up. And I don't like to use a torque wrench. I prefer to feel it by hand. There you are. You don't need it to be super tight, okay? It's just a little bit, just enough to crush the crusher. Not sure if you can appreciate it in camera, but basically the still water hatch is marked every 1 liter, and I have a dirty funnel. That's all you need. You will just put what you took from the transmission, you will put it there, measure. In that way you will have a starting point for refilling your transmission. You want to do it slow for avoiding making a mess. Nobody needs a fight with her wife, husband. By the way, you have like 10 quarts in your transmission. I don't remember the exact number, but it's way more than this. So even if you want to do this procedure twice a year, that wouldn't be too often. And I don't feel super comfortable with how little it came out from the car, so I'm going to refill it. I'm going to measure it later in the day, and maybe I'll repeat the process tomorrow or the day after. To refill it, you just need to take the dipstick, the transmission dipstick, from its place, and I strongly recommend you buying one of these long and thin funnels from IPD, because this make your life way easier. There you go. And I don't think you will see it, but we're going to use the regular ATF Dextron 2, Dextron 3 thing. You want to shake it. And then pour it slowly. Okay, second quart starting to go in. And that's it. Basically the 2 quarts I took out now have been replaced for new fluid. That's a good starting point for measuring the transmission fluid once you finish with your car service. Very important, clean the funnel. You don't want to introduce debris next time. And finally, clean the dipstick really well. So now I'm going to basically put a new oil pan plug. I have bought a magnetic one from Scandix, so hey, take a look to this. I don't know if you listen. Nice, good. Alrighty, I believe you have a good view there. I'm using a 25mm socket, and the good thing about the Volvosaurus is that it has the plug right in the middle, so there's no much chance of making a mess here. So, I hope I have not just jinxed myself I leave it there for 10-15 minutes. Alright, so now let's put the new magnetic plug with the new gasket or washer or whatever you call it. As usual, first, this is really strong magnet. So first let's, there you go. So let's first do it by hand so that you don't cross thread it, you don't make any mistake. Okay, so clean it really well. Long story short, I don't have a 26, that is what this requires, so here I am using this adjustable wrench. Right, and I don't want to tighten it, so I'm being really careful. There you are, that's enough. Now time to go to the top of the car and change the oil filter. Okay, now time to replace the oil filter. The good practice is try to protect the motor mount that is below the filter. So I put that piece of cardboard. I'm going to put some piece of paper. Most likely what I'm going to end up doing is a mess, just in case I put another recipient there where the cardboard ends. Anyway, this typically it's really messy. Let's see if I can avoid disaster. Well, it's starting to drip in the right direction. I'm going to stop the camera to try to avoid making a mess. By the way, it worked really well, the cardboard. You see there? Just drip it in sort of like a continuous stream, and basically the air filter ended up falling there in the container. So all good. And this is what I'm going to use. A PSN 10W40 and the original Volvo filter. And just in case you wonder, the user manual says APSF, given the year this car was made. So with any modern 10W40 you will be more than covered. The other thing you might want to know is how many liters of coolant this car takes. And it takes almost 10 quarts, 9.5 liters. Okay, you see it there, 9.4. That's important because when taking into consideration the putting back the coolant in the car after flushing the coolant, you will need to measure how much water you take out of there in order to calculate how much coolant you have to put in the mix. So you won't put 50-50, you will end up putting like 70-30 or whatever your numbers are, because you have water still in the system. Okay, that's why when you flush with the still water, you do 2 or 3 times, just to make sure you have only the still water in the system. Check that the old gasket has come out with the old filter, okay, because you don't want to double gasket the oil filter. And after you open the oil container, you can do it like this. You can close it back, you can shake it, and now you will use the new oil to lube the gasket a little bit. And apart from the gasket, you might want to lube the threads as well. Okay, it's really important you do so, because it's going to make your life easier when putting back the filter. Now you should surround yourself to the idea that will be a bit hard to match the oil filter with that thread, but eventually you will be able to do so. Once you do so, you just thread it there. I'm going to take the cardboard I use it. Okay, now after checking, my hands are dry, so I'm going to be able to make a good grip. I'll just hand tight the oil filter. You don't need to torque it, you don't need to do anything, because that's what makes your life very easy next time you service your car. For me, it was really easy to take the filter out with my bare hands. Okay, so now it's time to put the oil. This has 3.78 liters and the carter is 3.85. So a full can of this should be okay. I don't have a funnel, so I'm going to put some paper around it. And I know beforehand I'm going to make a mess, but it is what it is. I need to clean this engine anyway. Very important, I won't put the full thing. I'm going to leave 100 millimeters, 200 millimeters, just in case something is still in the pan. And that will be it. I didn't make any mess, surprisingly. All good now. All right, now I'm going to make a 15 minutes trip. I'm going to check all the levels, transmission, engine, fluids level, and then I'm going to put new hoses in the radiator and the coolant. So now time to do the final flush with the still water and put the real coolant. Something I do every time I buy something in Scandix or in IPD is I take advantage of what I'm buying and I buy some cheap stuff, such as this metal brace that holds the coolant reservoir. It's not needed actually, but I like to do every other time, taking advantage of the shipping. I buy this cheap stuff and I preventively change it. Of course I'm going to paint the other one, I'm going to leave it black, but meanwhile I'm going to put a new one. Okay, so now time to take this hose out. And I'm going to take advantage of this coolant flush and I'm going to replace the hose. I'm going to put new hose to the water pump and to the thermostat. I will take advantage of the time with the still water being drained. I'm going to open the old clamp to the water pump. One more time, this is completely preventive. I don't have a real reason for doing this, but these are 30 years old hoses, so you don't want these to crack. And although this is old and a bit rusty, I never throw this away, okay? Because you never know when you are going to be able to get one of these. So I'm just going to recondition that one. I'm going to store it. Although I hope this one lasts another 30 years. I did it by hand first. Because the angle of this was complicating me the task. That's it. Now I'll try to take this out of here. There you are. New hose to the water pump. You have the code there for Scandix at least. And I'm saving even the hoses. I'm not throwing them away just in case. And I also have new clamps, so I'm going to use them. There you go. And all right, there you have it. It's already pre-placed there. I put it towards this side, the bolt, because I didn't want to have it so close to the belt. And I did something similar below. And I like to have it, there it goes. Okay, let's just clamp it. I'm going to put it tighter. There you go. You can move it there. Now, let's change the angle. I don't know if you're going to see something there. And I hate this. There's much room compared to other engines, but it's not the most comfortable task to do, because being new clamps, they are too loose and you need to make a ton of turns until you get to some sort of adjustment here. And only there the clamp keeps still and you can work better. You want to be careful with the radiator side because it's plastic, okay? So being plastic, you don't want to break it. Just in case you didn't see it, there you have the new clamp and you have the new hose. And very important, take a look to clearance, okay? you want to make sure it's not touching here, it's not touching the alternator, it's not touching the fan cover. I'm safe. Let's move to the thermostat house one. And you want to hold this while you do it in order not to crack anything. Remember, all the plastics are 30 years old. So hold it. So next step is to measure how much the still water came out from the car, because we know the total capacity of coolant is 9.4 liters. In that way I can put the right amount of pure coolant and the still water so that the final mix inside the engine is 50-50. Okay, so let's measure it. I overfill it a little bit. Long story short, I have 5.1 there and one here. It's marked here. No, it's still, yes, it's marked here. There you have the mark. So you have 6.1, 6.2 that it's that we took out. So we have almost 3.2 the still water still in the engine. Knowing that I still have 3.2 liters of the still water in the engine, I need to put pure coolant plus 3.2 plus 1.2 liters of water, and then all the rest should be coolant. If you're really careful, you don't need to use a funnel, but of course do this slowly. So 4 quarts in, now I'm going to add 1 quart of the still water and I'm going to make it to the top with another bottle of Cerex. Once you open one, you need to discard it, okay? No matter if you still have 80% of coolant in it, just discard it, unless you're going to use in the coming weeks or months. I have 3.5 liters of distilled water, so I need to go to 2.5. So I put approximately 1.1 liter of distilled water, and now I complete it to the top with Cerex, with the new 4 quarts of Cerex. I know I'm going to use only 20 or 30% of this, but anyway, it is what it is. Please remember to dispose what is left from the coolant in a proper way, because this is really poisonous for the pets, okay? Right. Check what it is. It's almost full. I'm going to start the engine and keep adding until it's to the top. Let's turn the car on. And let's put the heater on. And let's check there's no leaks in the new hoses I've installed. And everything is looking good. It has already started to go down. So I'll do this 2 or 3 times until I can complete the 50-50 mix. Okay, we did a lot of stuff in the Volvosaurus, so I hope you enjoy it. I know I'm not super professional filming, but the idea is just to share what I do, just in case you need to do something similar, okay? And of course, all that will be disposed in the right way into the community disposal center.